How's it going, you guys? So, I recently got a question on my Instagram page from one of my subscribers asking me what is my opinion on eating raw meat. And basically, I believe they're asking about my opinions on a raw carnivore type of diet. So, um, let's see. First of all, I believe a couple weeks after my last Muay Thai fight in like November of 2019, I did a couple weeks of a raw carnivore type of diet where I ate mostly raw steak and raw butter. And I didn't really notice a whole lot of benefits. In fact, I didn't like how hard it was to chew the raw meat. It felt like I was kind of just like tearing apart the meat rather than actually chewing it. It seemed to take a lot longer to chew. Um, I don't know if maybe it was just the type of steak I was eating. I'm not sure, but I wasn't really a big fan of it. Although I usually get my steaks raw on the inside and seared for like a couple of like maybe 10 seconds on the outside. Um, and I generally leave my steak blue on the inside. What they call blue, it's basically raw on the inside. But at that time, I was just eating a raw steak for the raw carnivore diet for like three weeks or so. I didn't really notice too much benefits at all. I didn't really feel like it was as special and magical as a lot of these people act like it. So, let me kind of explain, though, my opinion, I guess, from a scientific perspective. So, first and foremost, pretty much everybody that experiences benefits from a carnivore diet, they experience those benefits not because, like they experience those benefits whether they eat raw meat or cooked meat. Okay, so most people they go to a carnivore diet because, for whatever reason, they get autoimmune disease symptoms from some of these fruit and vegetable anti-nutrients and things, and some of these alkaloids and other compounds that are found in these plant foods. And things like digestive disorders are generally triggered by these fibrous plant foods, especially beans, nuts, seeds, grains, and legumes. And many people have oxalate problems and things like that. So, whether you eat raw meat or cooked meat, when you're on a carnivore diet, you're mostly eating meat and removing all of those problematic compounds that typically trigger autoimmune disease and digestive disorders. So, the magic of a carnivore diet um, comes from what you remove rather than how you cook your meat. The other thing is things like diabetes and even cancer and heart disease. So, again, I have one of my friends who I interviewed, Leukemia Slayer, and he reversed his leukemia back in 2017, put it into remission, and kept it in remission ever since, eating a ketogenic type of diet where he basically just ate conventionally raised ground turkey that generally has additives added to it, conventional eggs, and like frozen broccoli. And that was all he ate. And within, I don't remember if it was a month or 2 months, his cancer was in complete remission. So he wasn't eating raw meat. He wasn't even eating grass fed. And he put his leukemia into remission. He's kept it in remission ever since. And he does not eat raw meat now. I can tell you that. He eats mostly grass fed beef now, but it's like cooked. And so the point here, though, is he didn't improve his health by eating raw meat. He improved his health by removing the carbohydrates that seemed to be, for whatever reason, contributing to his cancer growth. The same thing goes for reversing diabetes. It's removing those carbohydrates, and then hopefully removing the polyunsaturated fatty acids as well, the linoleic acid and whatnot. So raw meat, whether you eat raw or cooked, it doesn't really play a role in that. Now, as far as energy is concerned, I personally find, sure, after I eat a meal, like a two pounds of like cooked beef, I might, lay down for like 30 minutes or so, but I notice when I remove the fiber, that's when I actually have more energy. I don't really feel as lethargic after eating, just in general, eating cooked. Now, eating raw, from what I remember, um, especially if I ate more fat on the side, I felt pretty lethargic afterwards, and I just didn't feel like I could chew it well enough to digest it properly. So I would say, like, I'm not against the raw meat. I think the most important thing about raw meat, and I only eat my salmon raw, and I eat raw eggs still on a regular basis, and I generally keep my beef pretty raw when I cook it, especially steaks. But the biggest thing is just knowing that what mainstream health officials say about raw meat is not entirely true. We got all this stigma and fear against eating, raw beef and raw meat in general. And they say at least seared on the outside, don't eat raw ground beef. You have people eating like raw liver, and raw organs now on this carnivore diet. And so I think that that's an amazing thing, and a very important point to get across is that this idea that we're going to get worms and parasites and bacterial infections from eating raw meat is not entirely true, unless you're eating raw pig, maybe raw chicken, but I think that might be overstated, and especially things like raw bear, because there are some parasites that typically you can find in certain types of meat that can be very bad. But as far as beef is concerned, and ruminant animals, goat and lamb, I don't really think that there's that much of a concern. And I was eating raw, conventionally raised beef when I was doing it, And so if you like eating raw meat, you know what I mean, that's fine. But I think these people that think that it's like the be-all, end-all, and they'll turn you into a god. Look, I definitely feel that way just by eating carnivore, because I'm not weighed down by all the indigestible fiber, and I'm not feeding these microbes and I'm not spending a bunch of extra money on food that doesn't even give me anything I need, like broccoli. Mind you, I do eat a lot of low carb vegetables every now and then, just because it's fun and adds variety. But I feel like a god when I just eat carnivore, removing the carbs. Of course, I don't really like to do honey. Even though I'm a competitive athlete, I don't find any reason to eat honey. In fact, I feel worse. I have worse sleep. I have problems when I eat honey. So, point here is remove the carbs and remove the fiber if you have an autoimmune disease or digestive problem. And if you want to eat raw meat, go for it. If you don't, then don't worry about it. Now, what about like the vitamins and minerals and things, right? So, there's a lot of people who claim, oh, when you cook your meat, it destroys vitamins and minerals. So maybe to some extent certain nutrients, especially things like vitamin C, are heat sensitive. But I think the thing that a lot of people miss is that there's a lot of other nutrients that actually become more bioavailable. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, I think if you eat the juices of the meat that gets cooked out when you cook it, then you'll probably be getting the water-soluble nutrients, the potassium, the magnesium, and the minerals that come with it. Because a lot of these raw carnivore people, they claim, oh, it's cooking the meat that dehydrates you. But the thing is, the minerals are generally water-soluble. So if you're boiling ground beef, for example, and you eat the broth that you boiled the ground beef in, you're going to be fine. You're not going to lose a whole lot of nutrients. And you might even be increasing the bioavailability of some of the nutrients. So overall, it's a preference thing, and I don't see any magical benefits of eating raw. But maybe I'm just not enlightened by the raw meat gods yet. So, that's my opinion. Leave your experience down below, and I'll talk to y'all next time.